New managing moderator can support your channel in even more ways. Close.
YouTube, we don't care.
Okay, so YouTube was trying to tell me something that I did not care about. So anyways, well, hopefully we started a few seconds early because this is a topic that I love and is near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
My heart. And I'm not doing that for my breastises. I'm doing it because of what shirt I have on. So we're gonna give it a few seconds because here people are starting to pop on maybe.
Woohoo!
Did somebody come on?
I think it might be just me.
Who's that?
That's me.
Oh, that's you. Okay. Request to join. Interesting. You know, I've never done that before, so and now there's more people on.
Oh, woohoo!
We're starting to climb a little bit.
We might go in the near future.
Yeah, hopefully maybe next weekend. So we're gonna be talking about music as people start to jump on. And it's our second hour show.
Woohoo.
And as you can see, we're up against the music here, and you can see what's behind me.
These beautiful
vinyl records.
Babies, you guys know and love them.
So we're going to talk about music, but we're going to do it in a different way this time. We're going to talk about the actual things music are printed on, and how they coincide with the times in which they were done.
Yep, where they came from, how they came from, who made them, and why they're here.
Because we sell a lot of music, and first of all, let me tell you, I ran a music store in San Francisco for decades, and because music, you know, I don't have a single talented finger in my entire body, bone in my entire body. I can't sing, I can't play an instrument. I have an uncle who could do all of that, but I am not that person, unfortunately. People are jumping on.
Unfortunately, Ryan, there is not a direct avenue to make purchases on this live, but hypothetically, let's just say you're looking for something specific that we do show during the show tonight. You can call tomorrow
or mention it on here.
Or even mention it in the comments, and then we can just pull it and keep it off the floor for you until tomorrow.
Absolutely, and you can always revisit and then send us messages, and we can pull it, and we can do. You know, you can pick it up, you can buy it with a phone,
and then the
we can
second
ship
half
it.
of that is, remember, we do have a website which has completely different inventory than what we have in
There
store.
is CDs, there is music on the website, but it's mostly CDs that are on the website. So, if you do see something that we show you today, please, that you're interested in,
hi, Mom.
tell us. Yes, tell us. So anyways, I ran a music store all through the late 80s into the 90s, warehouse music in San Francisco. Some of my warehouse people are watching, I know that, or will be soon. And back in the day, it was a completely different world because we'd have reps come in and they'd give us concert tickets
People
and
actually
CDs
cared about
and
music
promos and stuff like that. And one of the things I'm going to show you is about promos today. But first we're going to start off with Jasmine talking about, as something is falling, is Jasmine talking a little bit about, what do you want to start with?
Let's start with 8 tracks.
8 tracks.
Yeah, we're going to start with 8 tracks.
So we're going to talk about 8 tracks. And for those of you who are under the age of probably 30, an 8-track was the very first cassette.
It's like a thick CD.
It's like, it's the cassette. Now, if you guys are sitting there wondering, what is he doing? We've got
YouTube, and we have Facebook Live, so you'll see us.
We're streaming live on several different channels.
Yep, you'll see us go back and forth.
So, an 8-track. This is Bette Midler, 8-track. Yes, she's old enough to do an 8-track. 8 tracks, and let me show you. These are the containers, and this is the actual 8-track. So it's like a cassette, a much larger cassette. Huge in the 70s. These were big in the 70s and late 60s.
So we're going to start with the first question that a lot of you guys are probably asking. How did you listen to 8 tracks? How did you obtain 8 tracks? And why were 8 tracks so important to a lot of people?
Salsa disco.
They stopped putting 8 tracks in automobiles around the 1982, so that was when they stopped putting them in. Yep, but when they started to put them in was 1966, and Mustang was the first car to ever have an 8-track player, and that was only in their Thunderbird and Lincoln models.
Okay, so some people will ask, why would you buy an 8-track today? Why do we use 8-tracks today? Why are they for sale in vintage and antique places? Well, we are in Michigan, car capital of the world, and we have some of the biggest classic car collectors in the world. So when our biggest season for selling 8-tracks is going to be car season, which is in the summer. And when people redo their cars or fix their cars or upgrade or do whatever to their cars, they want to keep them authentic. And by keeping them authentic,
is having an 8-track.
Having an 8-track in your car. And there's nothing better than rolling down Woodward Avenue during the Woodward Cruise or during the Crash It Cruise.
Yep.
Blaring the 8-track.
And hearing the snap, crackle, pop,
Yep.
and hiss from everything that's coming through
Yep.
all the little
Crystal
stereo
Gale.
bumps.
Who knows who Crystal Gale is? I love it. She had hair down to the floor.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think she had really long hair. In 1970, 8-tracks costed about $4.97. Please fact check me if I am incorrect on that.
And it's probably correct, which is still expensive back then.
Oh heck yeah, for sure, agreed. Bill Lear invented the 8-track. There wasn't really too much information on Bill Lear. 8-tracks was hard to find some good information on. But I did find, if you're like me and I'm only 23 and didn't know that much about 8-tracks, I just now found out today that an 8-track is 4 programs compressed to 2 tracks that are simultaneously playing to provide the stereo sound. Yep.
And one of the reasons I asked her to research the 8-tracks is because she's 23 and because she didn't have experience in them.
And I just wanted to educate myself because I see them all the time, but again, I always ask myself, when, how, and why did 8-tracks become a thing?
Okay, so Donnie and Marie.
Oh wow, look at that album art.
Donnie and Marie, look at that album art. So disco. Donnie and Marie album art, so disco. So this is Grandpa, this is grandson. Grandpa, grandson.
Does any of our viewers right now remember
Grandpa?
Columbia House?
Ha! Who remembers Columbia House?
And how-
Who still owes them money?
And how you could get 13 8-tracks for one single penny?
You could also do that with CDs.
Which is crazy.
Yep. And let me tell you, in the 80s, or cassettes, you could do it with cassettes too. So come on, there are people, I know there are people who still owe them money. So, random Elvis Costello, if you have any Elvis Costello records. Well, we have thousands of records here, so I don't know if I have any that are here that we're going to be talking about, but we can check with that later. Do you still owe them money? Debbie, you still owe them money. I love that. Is that?
That's my grandma. Grandma, no, you do not. You're so funny.
You know what? I probably do too, and half of the people from the 80s do too. So.
Part of me, I'm thinking, do you even still have the 8-tracks? Like,
no, that was probably CDs.
Yes, CDs.
Or cassettes. So, Random House, they did it for CD, they did it for everything.
That's so crazy.
Why do you think they're not around today?
That's so much plastic.
Oh, please. Back then, they knew no different. So, tying that into cassettes, because we're going to get into records in a minute.
Yes.
But tying that into cassettes, what do you have to say about cassettes?
Oh, oops, so sorry, guys. I have lots of notes today.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
She did educate me on something, and I thought I knew not everything about records or about cassettes, because I'm always wanting to learn. And I did learn this from her when she did the thing, because I even had to go through and fact check her. and she was right.
It was even one of those things where, like,
isn't that hilarious? I think it's hilarious.
And they're looking at you like, no way, there's no way that's true. And then
that
I'm
was
like,
me.
And I'm like, I looked it up for quite a bit of time, and that's what it told me. So.
And it's true.
I did find out that one of the first, we can't say that this was for sure the very, very first cassette, but this was one of the very first musical cassettes, and it was the Go-Go's.
The singles.
The singles, yep. It was a single, so it wasn't a whole album cassette. Thank you so much for that.
Single.
It was
Vacation.
it Take a Vacation or just Vacation?
Vacation. So the Go-Go's came out with their first album, and the Go-Go's, Belinda Carlisle, Jane Wiedlin, all of them. They came out with Vacation in probably 82, 83, and what I did not know is that, and she educated me on, was a cassette single, which singles were big back then. And because, groups like Kaja Gugu, who only had
one-hit wonders,
one hit, or Come On Eileen, the Dixie Midnight Runners, only had one song. The only people who wanted it, the only song they wanted was
the one. They didn't want the whole album.
So they started putting out cassette singles. We all remember those. And the very first cassette single was the Go-Go's Vacation.
And I thought that he would really enjoy that.
I do enjoy that. So, James, if you are watching, I know your mom is Belinda Carlisle.
Aww.
If you're watching, I bow to her again.
Aww.
For being the first one to do a cassette. Awesome.
That's so cute. So I thought this was really cool. Cassettes were originally made for dictation and not music. So they were made for news, commercial, therapy uses. And this was also awesome. The lifespan of cassettes in its entirety is 1963 to 1988. And more than 3 billion copies of cassettes were sold during just that single time period. The actual lifespan...
Are you sure, Debbie, that you don't? I bet if you ask them, you do.
I know they're going to
because
figure
all
out
of us
in the mail
do.
now.
I'm kidding, of course.
The actual lifespan of a cassette is only about 10 to 30 years, and that's because every cassette is filled with that magnetic strip, and that's what essentially creates the sound or the
right,
reverb
and then
of
it
music.
goes out. Which is funny because that's the same thing with CDs. Because CDs, the very first round of CDs, and we'll get into that more when we do a second thing on music. The very first round of CDs only lasted 10 years. They would start to degrade.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and so they tried to make them better and better and better, and they just didn't exist.
Listen, there's so many things about CDs that I have questions for. Is there grooves on the CD, or is it the...
Well, it's a ROM. So we'll get into that on the next one.
Okay.
Because I have a lot to talk about when it comes to vinyl,
Okay.
and I don't want to bore you guys. So with facts that I haven't vetted yet. Because I believe in real facts, not...
Period.
Yeah.
Let them know.
So anyways, what else do you have? Anything else about cassettes?
I got about 2 more.
Now, we carry a lot of cassettes.
We carry a lot of cassettes.
And you can't see them right now because they're around the corner, but we carry all sorts, and not just Vince Gill. I don't know why I have that in my hand.
We have Leonard Skinner, Pat Benatar, the Bangles, you name it, we got it.
Cassettes, all sorts.
Philips made a deal with Sony in 1965 that the compact cassette became the de facto standard for the planet, and that's what really essentially blew up the cassette.
Pretenders.
A lot of people did have cassettes and or Walkmans, but they weren't really as big until Sony kind of started taking that over. What else we got here?
Erasure.
In 1964, they were made in Hanover,
Steve
Germany.
Miller
and
Band.
1 year later, they were pre-recorded tapes that were sold all over Europe, and in 1966, over 250,000 tapes were sold in just the U.S. alone. And this is only cassette tapes. This is not including 8 tracks.
So, I'm going to give you another little piece of a tidbit. So back in the 80s, back when I was a kid, and we wanted music, right? So the only way we could do that is to record with a blank tape. This is a CD power, but I grabbed the wrong one. A blank tape, right? Put it inside the cassette and record off the radio, or cassette to cassette.
You can get about 10 blank cassettes for about $20 back in the 80s to do that.
Oh yes, and then we'd sit there and we'd have to, oh come on DJ, don't speak, and then you'd have to do it over.
And then you gotta pull your phone out and you're like, everybody shut up, I wanna make this my ringtone. And
Right.
then you're like, you gotta record that one specific right part.
So, all the fun stuff like that, right? So, I'm going to tell you something about the first record. The first record, now I've mentioned this before, it was not what you see here. It was not a 45 or a 78 or anything like that. What it was wax records, okay? Wax records. As you see here, the Edison Gold Mountain. Now, this is the second edition, the Gold Mountain.
This is awesome.
The gold molded. That's the second edition, right? The brown molded would have been the first edition, and I do not have any of those. This is a 2-minute because it's red. So, when we talk about these, they look like this. They look like this, right? Now, if you remember the player piano, and how the player piano had the little roll and it had the little grooves in it that caused the piano to play, this is done in a similar sort of way. So Edison took his brown mold and blew it up. So he put pieces of metal in it, like little tiny, not a lot, conductivity, right? So that way when he played it, it would play better and sound better. And during the molding process, he heated it up. That made the little lines in it get longer. So it was a longer play.
Yep.
So he stretched out the play time to only 2 minutes, which was a long time back then, right? For only 2 minutes, which was a long time back then. Stretched it out, And then this would have been for the phonograph, right? So this is the edit for the Edison phonograph, which I do not have one right now. We did have one, but we sold. The big, this thing right here, which you see on the Facebook one, would project the sound. Now, a lot of people look at these big, huge horns and think, oh, that's a Victrola, right? Well, Victrola was a name brand. It is not the type of player. It's a name brand for Victor, Victrola. So that's this. This is the very first one. So this would have been a phonograph or a gramophone, late 1800s to the early 1900s. Can you put this back on?
Oh, yep.
Thanks. Then what I thought was interesting is wording, right? Because back then it was a phonograph and a gramophone. Then in the 1940s, they changed it to record player because it was stuffy to say gramophone.
It's a lot. It's a mouthful.
Right. So they called it a record player and it was more hip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Cool.
So then in the 80s, when people started to spin, meaning that they used records to make sound, they then became known as the turntable. So that is what we use today as turntable when it comes to playing records.
Steve, what do you mean Kleenex and tissue?
Yeah, what do you mean? Oh, cleaning it off? Oh, that's okay, David. So hopefully you'll come back on, Steve, and tell us what you meant by that. So we're going to talk about vinyl, and vinyl was actually back in the 1930s. Mm-hmm. Okay, 1920s, 1930s was vinyl, and he still hasn't answered us.
I know.
So in the 1930s was vinyl. We started out with 78s, meaning that a smaller form of record, right? And I have a 78 right here.
There's one lingering around here too.
Yeah, I have a 78 right here, and I'm going to hold it up next to, that's a 45. I'm going to hold it up next to a 33 record, right? You can see the difference, right? So this is played on a regular turntable, record player, whatever you want to call it today. This is played on a 78. And there is a difference because when it comes to the needles, it is very important that you know you cannot use the same needle on a 78 as you can on a 33 or a 45 because of the thickness of the vinyl. So when you look at the vinyl and how thick it is, right? It's a thicker vinyl. You use a steel needle that is going to be a heavier push to get the sound off. Which right here I have a 78 player. Oh, and you can't see it at all. I can just turn you a little bit. Right here I have a 78 player. It's a crank. Oh, you're crooked. Oh, that's all right. It's a crank up.
Steve is so funny. Joined us a little late. I have no idea where we're at right now with Steve.
Victrola versus record player. Well, a Victrola plays a 78, whereas a record player plays a 33.
Okay, so boom.
So there, or you can find Victrolas. Like I said, Victrolas are a name brand versus a record player is the record player
itself, right?
Right. So Sony, because RCA bought, I think it was RCA that bought Victrola. I'd have to look and see. But so when you're dealing with a 78, which is considerably smaller, you use a steel needle that pushes harder onto the record. If you use that same needle on a 33, it'll cut right through it. And you've destroyed that record.
Yep.
Needles, I'm not going to get into needles on this one because there is a vast amount of knowledge when it comes to needles. Needles can run anywhere from $5, like Kleenex is a brand, yes. Yes, absolutely. They sued to stop using it as the word tissue.
Oh, what?
Yeah, because Kleenex is a brand, not a product.
Dang.
And so, what was I saying? I lost my...
I'm so sorry. We were talking about how your record will be snapped right in half due to the type of wrong needle.
Needles are vast. Needles can run $5 all the way up to several thousand, depending on what you want to get. So a lot of people who love their records and love their vinyl and love their music really spend a lot of money on needles.
Absolutely.
So we'll get more into needles later on our next visit or on our next show.
Probably along with CDs too.
Yeah, along with CDs because I need to do more in-depth research on needles. So we're going to talk, that's the 78. Now some of the other fun records that I want to talk about, and shoot questions out because I know you went through most of what you had there, are these paper records.
Yeah,
Who remembers
awesome.
the paper records that you would get like at the end of a book, right? The paper records. How fun is that? Who is this? Bobby Sherman and Phil Spitlany.
Spitlany.
So paper records,
Italian.
which by using a standard 33 needle,
Now imagine you would save so much.
you can do it.
Paper
You
vinyl.
can. I mean, if you were in the 70s or even the 80s and you got Disney books, there'd be usually a plastic record behind there, like a
That'd
cheap
be
plastic
so cool.
record. But sometimes they were paper. So yes, they do play. Now, getting into some of the 33s that we have, meaning the full-size albums, again, we're dealing with full album versus a single. And the single, like I said, made its huge splash in the 80s because everybody just wanted one certain song.
Where'd you put that?
Where did
one
he
more
go?
time?
I gotta look and see.
I know, right? We're like, we gotta double check, Grandma. Hold on.
I don't know where I put it. It must be up in here. Right. Oh, it's right there, on the other side of that. So anyways, I have Cabaret Voltaire, which is an 80s band, right? And a lot of people like them. So you have the full album here, which is Crackdown, right? That's got 12 songs on it, 8 songs on it. This is the 12-inch, meaning that there's only one song.
This is for the viewers who just doesn't know who Bobby Sherman is.
Yes. And in the 70s, he was probably a hottie.
I feel like YouTube needed to see this as well.
Yes. So anyways, you don't want the whole album because there's not a lot on here that you like, maybe. You can buy the top songs. Now, one of the things about the singles that were really cool back in the 80s when we'd have to hunt down our music is usually they had a very rare song on the B-side.
Mm-hmm.
So a B-side single can be worth a lot of money.
What's one that you can show them or tell them about an example, just so they get
Well, they would be more underground for me because of unless you know Erasure, because Moon and Stars is on the B-side, and or Carry On the Clingers. There you go. Carry On the Clingers is a song on the B-side of one of the 12 inches for, I believe it's Sometimes Maybe, or A Little Respect, and you can only get it that way. So, and Carry On the Clingers is an interesting song. So if you do not understand a 12-inch and you buy the whole album and you're done, you'll never ever hear, well today you will, you would never ever hear Carry On the Clingers.
Because it's so...
Because you'd have to buy the 12-inch to get it on the B-side. So back in the day when there was no internet, that's what we spent our time doing.
Dang.
Is we'd go to the record store and look at the different records, and how we would tell if we were going to like them if it was a new one by who the, like for instance, who the arrangement was done by.
Okay.
If it was done by the same person as a favorite band of yours, then you would buy it and try it. Sometimes it would just be the album cover. Sometimes it would be who produced it.
Sure.
What
color the vinyl was.
Colored vinyl's always a hot. I don't have one to show you.
I know. I should have brought one. I'm slacking today.
Because certain things, like for instance, I have at home somewhere in my record collection, which I was looking for, R.E.M's Orange Crush on the Orange album.
Nice.
With the Orange Crush symbol on the inside symbol. So, which is pretty cool.
Orange. I only have like a speckled orange one. I wonder what it's like to see. Is it like bright orange?
Oh, it is bright orange. It's
That's
like Orange
awesome.
Crush. Okay, so some of the other rare albums you want to look for will be promotional or misprints. And what I mean by misprints are label misprints. Like for instance, I have a Dead or Alive album at home that I bought in the 80s at Tower Records in San Francisco. And it has the way that the numbered sides, meaning the first 5 songs or 6 songs that are on one side, it's like the first song is Something in My House and all this different stuff. That's not actually what it is.
Dang, so they messed it up.
So, in other words, it says that these 5 songs are on this side in this order. Totally no, it's those 5 songs, but in a totally different order.
Right.
So that's a misprint, and that can raise the value of your record. So this is a Ramones misprint. This is one of Steve's records, the Ramones. Right? One of Steve's records, the Ramones. And this is a misprint. So this has the song Beat on the Brat. And the song is called Beat on the Brat, right? Now, this was played at our wedding because Steve is a huge Ramones fan, and so am I. This album actually says, so the song is called Beat on the Brat.
Beat on the Brat.
Yep. And so on here, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it, it's number 2. It's number 2. They wrote Beat is on the Brat. So number 2 is they wrote Beat is on the Brat, which is a misprint. And you wouldn't notice that today because you don't look that closely, probably, because you can find any song on streaming. But that just made this record
skyrocket in price.
Skyrocket in price because they probably only made out a few. I'll wipe them off, Steve.
Steve, you are my ultimate favorite person. You're so funny.
All right, so I have worked with records and vinyls forever. Fingerprints, I can easily take off with a static-free keyboard.
I can just hear his actual voice right now.
Okay, so another thing would be picture disc, of course, or etched.
Etched is nice.
Something like that. This is Mark Allman.
And I've never seen one of these with my own eyes until today.
This is Mark Allman, and he is the lead singer of just lost it, Soft Cell. And you might know the Soft Cell because Tainted Love.
Oh, okay.
Tainted Love. Okay, this is him solo. So this is only, this one is Only the Moment. And if you look closely, you see the etching on it. This is one of my personal ones. You see the etching? The etching adds value because only one side of this record is playable, and it's the back side because the front side of it has the Roman numeral clock on it.
That's awesome.
So I'll pull it out. And don't yell at my fingerprints. Tell me something else about this record that does not look like it should be Mark Allman. But this symbol is M-A. It looks like Madonna's, doesn't it?
Oh, wow.
Looks like Madonna's symbol. So M-A, but you see the clock on there, and this side is playable, right? This side is not because it's got the edged clock in it. They only make so many of these, so makes this more valuable. I wonder if Madonna went after him for that. Hilarious.
Or if she ever noticed.
So when you find stuff like that, that does add value to your records. And then, you know, when you try to tell what your records cost and you use Discogs, please understand that it is every number, every writing, all of the little etching that's in the sides, all matter when looking up the value of your records. Because literally I could have 2 records. I'm just grabbing. I could have 2 of these that look exactly the same, but one of them could be worth a fortune and the other one just worth what its face value is. All right, so now we're going to show you some of the albums here. This one I thought was cool. Look at this. So this is Alice Cooper, and this is somebody's album that they wrote all of their favorite bands on.
I love that.
Isn't that so? Not only are you getting this cool single,
you get to see a tidbit into their favorite life.
You get to see a tidbit into their life. Look at that. This Alice Cooper is fantastic, isn't it? Look at the picture alone is really cool. And there's the back of it.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that nice? So this one is Nude Institute of Nude Wrestling. Very him. And this one is 1973. 1973.
Oh,
Isn't
wow.
that cool? So I just love it because it's got this. Isn't that fantastic? I love it. Did somebody just say something on there?
Not on here. That was a personal message for you.
Oh, okay. So, and then one other thing. What else? You're going to talk about those in a minute.
Oh, sure.
So as you see, we have quite a bit. And all of our records are original prints, and if they're not, we mark them. One of the other things I wanted to show you were promotional.
Oh,
Where did
yeah.
my promotional go?
I think it's underneath that, the last one, yeah.
Is it?
Is that it? Or am I?
No. Okay, I lost my promotional. Did you want to show one of those while I look for it?
I think it's right here.
Oh, it is. Yep.
Yep.
Both of these. Okay. So, promotional records, meaning that they came from the
Rep.
the rep. the Warner Electric Atlanta rep, the Geffen rep, the stuff like that. And how to tell a promo other than the fact that it says promo. Like something like this that says promotional copy on it. Promotional copy on it. Not all of them say that. I have here Mike Rutherford. You see this little indent up here? This here? It's like a little cut. You see this little cut right here? That shows that it was a promotional. Like for instance, when a magazine needs to be sent back or they're bringing out a new magazine for the month, they'll tell you to rip the cover off and throw it away and send back the cover.
Which is so crazy.
Okay, so they cut them like this so they know they're promotional. And we would receive these by the reps coming in and saying, here, play this in the store. Here, play this in the store so that people can hear their records. Because we did a lot of that back in the day. That's how records got popular.
And that's how new albums got advertised.
It is how new albums got advertised, besides word of mouth. So those are always good, and some promotional copies can be worth a lot of money. Some are not. What do you have?
Oh, I brought some.
Oh, that's a good one.
These are just some of my personal favorites
and we do
that
have
I brought.
some of those too.
Oh, awesome. So if you guys really do like the ones that I'm going to show, we do have a couple of doubles here. But these ones are personal. We're going to start with my favorite, which is this On the Record John F. Kennedy. This is just a vinyl record of every speech he's done for the news and for political purposes.
So back then, a lot of times, in order to hear, if you don't have a TV in your house, and a lot of people back then didn't have a TV, and if they did, they didn't get the channels or anything, so they would listen to this, to maybe not this one, but one of the records to talk about his State of the Union or any type of political events that are happening, were always placed on records, so that's why you can find them.
This one's probably another favorite, and I'm going to open it twice for two reasons. So this is Fleetwood Mac, Mystery to Me, before Stevie Nicks was even thought of. Here's the literal.
Before Stevie Nicks.
Yep, so before Stevie Nicks was even thought of, we got the beautiful group right here. But my other favorite is that even they were ahead of their time because they had the double art on both edges of the vinyl long ago.
And a lot of people know that Queen had fantastic ones of these, the double.
Heck yeah.
So this is a Fleetwood Mac of ours that you can come in and buy today. This is Fleetwood Mac over and over. So we do carry a lot of Fleetwood Mac and a lot of Stevie Nicks. So if you are a fan, come in, take a look, because all of our records are 30% off all the time.
And you don't have to spend a specific amount to get that.
Like for instance, this Fleetwood Mac Tusk is a double disc, and it is an original printing, and it's only $9 and then 30% off. So come in and take a look at our vinyl, you guys.
This one was really cool for me to bring in. It doesn't even have a date on here, but I do know that somebody will know that this is
That's Sesame Street, so it's probably either late 60s or early 70s.
But this one is just important to me because I found it in such a pristine condition that even the inside book, because it does come with like a little cartoon book, and this is super important. Three things actually. What's different about this picture here than what's different now with Sesame Street?
Oh.
The first one, there's actually quite a bit. The first one that I'm going to point out is Oscar. He is orange in this picture. Everybody knows Oscar is green in actuality right now. Grover looks like some weird goblin guy, and he has no pink nose. And Kermit, that is Kermit the Frog. He is one of the only Muppets to ever make that crossover between Muppets and Sesame Street.
So this one would have been late 60s.
Oh, just found it. You were right.
Did you?
Yep, you were right.
Oh, 1970, 70s. The year I was born.
You were right, though. That's awesome.
1970, the year I was born. So this may be her personal one with the book, the storybooks in it and stuff, but we do have stuff like that.
Yay!
And we do get them like the Walt Disney.
Oh, that's cool.
Like the official album of the Disneyland and Walt Disney Tambourine Bear, which they have removed from Disney. But if you have memories, you could grab something like this. Then there is the King Kong. And this one is the theme from the King Kong and other movie greats. So, you know, if you loved it, you could go home and buy the record and then you would have all the movie greats.
Julia, to answer your question, that is definitely something that you're going to want to call the store for during our just specific records. That's just like for like a little small list.
Oh, okay. You can send it over the list, and I'll let you know.
Boom.
Yeah. And then the Lone Ranger. These were good for kids during the time when TV was restricted, or they didn't have a lot of options and channels to put on a record. And the kids, this is Superman.
That's awesome.
You know, and the kids could listen to this for hours while they're playing and doing other stuff. So go on.
Jason told me that we do have these here if anyone is interested, which is David and I found these at a random estate sale. I don't even know where we were at, but these are Sound Effects Volume 1 and 2. And just a little few of what you could find on Volume 1 is Tropical Birds for a whole minute. You could listen to pop bottles opening and pouring into a cup for a whole 20 seconds. You need somebody to know what it sounds like for a Royal typewriter for 42 seconds? This is going to be your record. There's so many different ones.
So the most important, what's the word I'm looking for? What we sell the most of is Halloween sound effects and scary sound effects. And even though that has a needle on it, it is fantastic. I love it. Doctored for Super Sound. Chinese New Year's. Okay, they're not always the most politically correct, but they are. Look at that, chimps in the pet shop. So you have a bunch of sound of chimps. That's fantastic. So we do carry those, and we do carry the Christmas ones, the Halloween ones, all of those, as we can find them. So come and check it out, especially during the holidays. So some of the ones I wanted to show you that I was surprised that we had, which was pretty cool, and we'll get back to those, is, look at this.
This is awesome. This is so cool.
It's disco, you guys. This says Ballroom Orchestra, right? Aragon Ballroom Orchestra, the sounds of the Lord of the Rings.
Imagine
look at that.
You're getting ready to have a formal house party, and you put this on and it's disco
instead. It's disco. It says right here, RPM disco version. The disco version of a orchestra playing Lord of the Rings. That almost seems like a meme.
It is a meme.
I know. So one of the other things is back then it was expensive to record on vinyl.
Very.
Okay. So what they did is sometimes is they one side would be one group and the opposite side would be a second group. So they would end up putting two different bands on one album. And that is common. And so people who like jazz tend to have a lot of these because it's a lot of jazz singers, a lot of blues, a lot of country.
And Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass.
Yes, or Crystal Gale is on one side and Dolly Parton's on the other side, or something like that. So these are common for back then, and it's a great gift, especially if somebody loves both the people on this. You get both groups for one price.
Heck yeah.
That's how they would advertise them back then.
It saves paper, wax, everything.
So albums aren't always for music, right? So comedy albums, and I'm going to tell you guys, it took me a minute to find a comedy album that did not have a cover that I could not show live. So this is a comedy album, Sick Along With Us.
This one's cool.
Okay, and so it would be like any comedian. You know, matter of fact, I think that what's his name? I just lost it. White hair, plays the ukulele. Saturday Night Live alum. Oh my God, his name. He won a comedy. Okay, I cannot remember anybody anymore. Isn't that hilarious? So, Richard Pryor won a Grammy for his comedy album. Eddie Murphy has won Grammys for his comedy album. I think I can't think of his name.
Did we talk about him today?
No. All right, but anyways, so comedy albums were big.
Steve
and
Martin.
They still are. Steve Martin, thank you. Steve, thank you. Steve Martin has won several Grammys for his comedy and music albums because he plays the ukulele or the banjo. I think he plays both.
It's like almost the same thing.
There is a big difference between a banjo and a ukulele.
I mean, but they're
A ukulele's tiny and it's Hawaiian.
But you still gotta.
The banjo is a regular guitar, round, and you pluck it. And, yeah, kind of, I guess. Yeah, two different types of music.
Yeah, for sure. Agree.
So, those of 80s boys or 80s children, High Priority, the MTV album.
This is awesome. It's
So-
like a compilation of different MTV artists.
Yep. So, stuff like this. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, who can tell me why I'm holding up Malcolm McLaren's Madame Butterfly? Malcolm McLaren. Who can tell me what Malcolm McLaren is famous for? Can you?
Vivian Westwood.
Vivian Westwood's one of them. The Sex
Sex
Pistols
Pistols.
would be another. Chrissy Hines would be another.
Chrissy Hines.
So if you watched the show, the show on TV, the Sex Pistols show, you would learn that Malcolm McLaren and Vivian Westwood worked at Vivian Westwood's shop Sex in London, and met the lead singer of the Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten, and they formed the Sex Pistols, and history was made. And Vivian Westwood just passed away. Yeah.
They did dedicate a beautiful pair of Doc Martens to her, though.
Well, they should. She's the godmother of punk.
Yes, and they're awesome. They got like nets all torn around them and stuff.
So
This is awesome. I really love the color
look
art.
at this, everybody.
The back. Look at show
We
the
are
back
the
of
world.
back.
We are the world. One of the biggest fundraising events in musical history. Ever. We Are the World. Now, what I'm showing you is just iconic records, right? 33 RPMs. But something like this, we carry these, $7.
It's not bad for a classic.
Yeah.
I'll
So
send you
this is the
one.
USA Africa charity, and it's got all the fabulous people. We Are the World. So it's $7 and then 20% off. Come on, you can't.
They might like that one.
Oh yeah, go ahead, because I'll talk about her afterwards.
This one was also passed on to me when I was in high school, and I think that it's beautiful just to show the inside as well as the outside.
And it's the Supremes.
And it does have.
Motown,
Yep,
because we're in Motown, you guys.
And the best part about this is that it is a double vinyl slip, but they're not open. I never opened them. They've never been spun. But the icing is that they came with these really pretty watercolor posters on the inside. And even though that the signatures, these are from 67.
1967, Motown. These are fantastic. These drawings are fantastic. Now, Diana is missing from this. So there would be a Diana one in here, but I'm sure these three aren't too upset about that. And so there would be 4 in here, technically. Aren't those beautiful?
So pretty.
So when you find this album, which is Diana Ross and the Supremes' Greatest Hits, we've had this
But
several
now that I'm
times.
thinking about it, there's 3 of them here, and there's 3 of them
On the cover, is this after Diana? No, that's Diana right there.
So these are the Supremes.
These must be the 3. Yeah, no, that's Diana. So forget everything I just said.
Yep, forget everything we
So
just said.
Diana, Mary, and Florence. Yeah, they're all here.
Pretty, huh?
Wait, there would be a 4th one though.
That's what I'm saying. Like I
This
knew I
must be
was.
before then.
Look, I knew I wasn't crazy. I always
Yeah.
thought that there was 4.
Maybe there was.
But Shelby,
can't-
let's see here. No, nobody. Does
Okay.
anybody know?
I think that mostly it must be 3 then. I don't know. I guess we should know since we're in Motown. Oh, here's yours. This is yours.
Shake it.
Okay, so records weren't just for music, like I said, and some of the funny ones that I had to show you guys are actually hilarious. Like, come on, Avis Rent-A-Car, and it's a double album. Avis Rent-A-Car. And
Steve
this
corrected us and said, nope, there's only just 3.
There is only just 3. I probably knew that, but I got off.
I know, but it
for some
just,
reason.
when you look at it and you're like, I thought that there was 4, your brain starts making
Yeah.
you think that there's
So
4.
honestly, I did run a record store, but I'm getting old. So here is Avis Rent-A-Car. It's a double album, and it's the second one. Hello.
So what would you find on this
Well,
record?
back then, in order to get your advertising out, or they all did this type of thing. They all put out CDs. I mean, here I'll show you. So there's this one, and then
Is that equivalency to the O'Reilly's theme song?
I don't know what that is.
Oh.
Oh yeah, kind of. I don't know about what. That's probably just a bunch of different things that they played in.
Gotcha.
And then like there's How to Handle Your Boat.
Yeah, I'll show this one.
How to Handle Your Boat, which is weird. Mary Kay Cosmetics put out an album.
This one's awesome.
Mary Kay Cosmetics.
If you need to recruit your homegirls on how to sell Mary Kay, this is your vinyl record that you need to take home with you. This will teach you the beauty show, suggestion, procedure and continuing, and booking, coaching, and recruiting.
Because before we had what we're doing right now with you, that's the only way they could get it out on how to do.
Imagine what if there was a Tupperware one?
There probably is.
Or an Avon one.
There's several Avon ones, I'm sure. And then there's stuff like this. Now, this is a serial program that would have been done on the radio before TV. And so they put it on the record so that you can listen to it again. Or if you didn't have a radio at home, you just had a phonograph or a Victrola, you could play that with it if it were a 78 or a regular record player. And then military marches, because for those days that you just want to feel like you're in the military, I guess. Isn't that hilarious?
2, 3, 4.
Now, here's a double. This is a box set. Judy Garland box set, meaning that there's multiple CDs in here. Mm-hmm. So they made those, and that was a good way to get a lot of records and a lot of music in, is buy the box set, because they tend to be a little bit cheaper as if you bought the entire collection. Yep. And then, of course, disco. How to do the, what is this one? This one is Disco Hustle. How to do the Disco Hustle. Isn't that fun?
I love the font that they used up top.
I think we should have a party on how to disco.
That sounds lit.
And have everybody dressed like disco, and you're going to have to learn to do the steps. We have the books.
This will be great. I love
Wouldn't that be fun?
That sounds like a great idea.
And then, of course, the master of vinyl.
The God himself, the king
Elvis
of
Presley.
rock and roll.
Elvis Presley, and of course the Beatles, which I don't think. Can you look? I don't think we have a. Every time we get Beatles, we sell out. Immediately. But Elvis is a big one. There's hundreds and hundreds of
no Beatles.
Them. But as you can see, there's a lot here. From Madness to the Babies to Leonard Skinner. Who else? Wall of Voodoo. Till Tuesday. We have everything. Everything you can think of. From underground to rock and roll to jazz to everything. So,
yeah. I'm trying to find this one.
We're going to talk about picture discs.
Oh, yes.
If I can find it.
We must have sold it, but we did have a Flying Lotus record here, and
it's right here.
Did you pull it out?
Yeah.
It's somewhere.
Right there. Isn't that it?
Nope.
No. I don't know where it went. I thought I pulled it out.
It's somewhere in here.
Okay, so picture discs. I just had them, and I just lost them. No, those are 45.
Oh.
I just had them.
These ones are really cool once we get our crap together.
I know, right? Are they in that pile you took?
Nope.
I literally just had them.
They're so thin, and they're not in traditional slips either.
As you get to look at our back. Oh my goodness. Oh, look. Here's aerobics.
Aerobics, shape with
I just had them.
Joanne Greggins.
Isn't that hilarious?
Get up bright and early with Joanne.
That's weird. I literally just had them in my hand.
Did they slip somewhere?
Disneyland.
No.
All right, here they are. All right, I found them. Sorry about that, you guys. All right, picture discs. Well, first of all, there's one in here I really like, but this one, it's funny because it's from Hot Topic, where she used to work for years. And picture disc, meaning that they print the picture right on the disc.
Which is awesome.
They print the picture right on the disc. And it's a playable vinyl. Look at that.
I want you to show our viewers something very specific about this vinyl slip.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Look at this, you guys. Look at how the font in Hot Topic looked. That's the original Hot Topic font. So this is what you say, 01?
01. Yeah.
01. The original Hot Topic font actually looked like this. Remember, I know our viewers have to remember.
So the other one I have, which I did not know we had, was the Stan and Ollie. It's a comedy skit from this is Stan and Holly, but it's Laurel and Hardy. Stan and Ollie. I don't know why I said that, but Laurel and Hardy, and that's their first names. And it's a picture disc with Laurel and Hardy on the front. So those of you whose parents or grandparents like Laurel and Hardy, This would be a great gift
Perfect.
because they could frame it and put it on the wall.
Because it's a picture in itself.
It is. It absolutely is. We used to hunt these down. These were not prevalent back in the 80s. But
I bet.
I mean, they made them, but they weren't prevalent. But the Laurel and Hardy picture discs, those are really cool. Some of the other things that I wanted to show you are, and we talked about them a little bit, hence the shirt I'm wearing, if you guys can see it.
David, I'm so surprised you haven't said anything about
This
it.
is the Grateful Dead, the teddy bear shirt.
Yep.
And this is not an original shirt. This is a reprint. We had the original. We sold the original. I would not wear the original. I mean, I would.
But it'd be like a rare occasion.
It would be on occasions because it can be extremely expensive. I do have another original 1994.
It's beautiful.
Grateful Dead. And then I'll tell you a story about Grateful Dead, if you guys don't mind my stories. This one is the sunflower, if you see. So it was very common for artists to do shirts.
David's immediate comment is, I'm jealous.
So this is the Grateful Dead. This one is the sunflower. I should send this to my sister. And she's watching and she'll be like, yes, you should. This one is an extreme rarity, okay? So this one is called the eyeball shirt.
This is cool. It's so small.
It is small, and it's funny because it says it's a medium.
Medium.
And this is Jimi Hendrix, and this is the Flying Eyeball. The Flying Eyeball shirt. And it's original, and it's available on our Etsy page right now, but if you like it, you can always come in, but it is a pricey shirt, I'm going to tell you the truth.
So if somebody is interested, does their 20% off go again?
Not because it's online.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And things that we have online, for those of you who aren't aware, we pay to put stuff online.
That's okay, Grandma. You don't have to be a deadhead. You're still cool.
Oh, no, you don't have to be. I'm not a deadhead, but I mean, I'm not a deadhead. Like, in other words, I don't follow them around.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, there are people that do.
Oh, David has
So,
one.
a quick story about Grateful Dead. You know, I ran warehouse music in San Francisco for years, right? And during the time he died, that Jerry Garcia died in the 90s. And so in San Francisco, they shut all the lights off and everything because, you know, he's San Francisco. Then they had the Earth Day Festival shortly after in the fields. I can't remember what the field was called. But they did a tribute to Jerry Garcia. It's the only time I've been up front with a sea of thousands of people behind me. It was a little scary in a way. But they had people up there. Fish went up there, which is their band after. Mm-hmm. Went up there and performed. Lily Tomlin performed.
No way.
You know, Chrissy, there was a whole bunch of people did. And those who didn't perform actually went up there and spoke about him. So I was actually at that event, and I thank my stars every day I was able to be.
Aw.
That was a pretty cool thing.
Cool experience.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Thank God it didn't cost, or I wouldn't be going, because San Francisco is just too expensive. So there is so much music here. And I talk about music with customers all the time because it is a passion of mine.
Yay.
I listen to it all the time. Matter of fact, I brought a couple things from home too, and this may be available here in the store soon. This is the Verb Pipe, if you guys remember the Verb Pipe. They're still around and stuff. This is a backpack. And because I worked in the industry for so long, I went to a lot of the conventions and stuff like that. And I actually got to meet the Verb Pipe, and they actually gave me this backpack.
That's so cool. And
So,
it's in clean condition.
And as you can see, it's the Verb Pipe. So this was given to me directly from the band, and it's going to actually be for sale here soon.
That's
and
so cute. They wrote your name all over it.
This is the second time I met Garbage, Shirley Manson. I was able to get tickets for my rep to go see Shirley Manson at the Trocadero in San Francisco.
Oh wow, sounds
And what was funny was while I was there, Rob Zombie showed up to watch her perform along with Tracy Lords. And if those of you who don't know her, she was the underage porn star who changed her life around. She now does music and sings, and she does the song called 1,000 Fries that Rob Zombie actually did the music for.
Oh, nice.
So the music is to die for. She doesn't sing very well. But, I actually got to see her perform that night with him doing the music to it.
Oh, that's cool.
Which was pretty cool. So I miss those days in the music, but I do like to talk about music so much that Steve gets annoyed with me sometimes. So if you like to talk about music, come on in. And I want to give a nod to some music greats that just passed away, like Lisa Marie Presley. And even though it was her father that was the music great, because I don't think she could sing very well, she still represents music.
Absolutely.
So I hate that.
When you thought of Elvis, you thought of her as well.
You did.
They were a package deal.
So it's too sad to see her go. But and then I also want to say, as we are soon wrapping up, is I lost a friend today. And I wanted to give a shout out to his family, Michael Kennedy. And you know, it's sad. He had a heart attack while he was sleeping.
Oh, dang.
So
I'm so sorry.
my love and respect to the family. So but I don't want to end it on a bad note. What's your guys' favorite bands?
Yeah, let us know. What's your favorite way to listen to music?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you still like the old school Walkmans, or do you like 8-tracks? Do you have an 8-track
I wish I
player?
had a Walkman to show you. Do you like the crackle and pop of a
Oh, yes,
a record?
absolutely.
And I've got to tell you that there are people who come in here and that is what they die for.
They go crazy for it.
And it's so funny because in the 70s and 80s, everything was vinyl records. But today, the kids want that back.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually, and it's funny because they're releasing music on cassette again.
Mm-hmm.
And cassettes were $10,
Yep.
$10, $15 in the 80s.
That's honestly about how much they are now.
Are they the same now?
Yep.
And we would run down to get the newest one. I don't know if they still do it the same because, yeah, I would love to show you Beatles, but I am sold out of Beatles.
Yeah, we sold out of them, yeah.
Every time we get Beatles here, we sell out of them completely. And it's crazy. I do have something now.
And to be honest, coming from a person who's only 23, I would have to admit, when I first started vinyl hunting, I only went for the cover, and then I would bring them home and ask my parents if it was good or not.
I have the Life magazine with the Beatles on it. The Beatles, Elvis Presley, Rolling Stones. There's certain bands
That just fly with
that, no matter the generation, will always be popular.
Eagles is a good one.
Eagles is a good one. The Beatles and Elvis will sell always. It doesn't matter the generation. We have people who are in their 80s coming in looking for Beatles. We have people who are 8 coming in looking for Beatles.
Yep.
So that bridges that generational gap when it comes to music.
Yep. And how it brings us together.
One of the other things I want to mention is the lack of genre. Meaning that in the 80s, when music became everybody's life, it was segregated into genre, which it still is when you put it in. But your group, your clique you hung out with in the 80s depended on the music you listened to.
Absolutely. And I heavily influenced that in my life now.
Yes. So if you were a new wave and underground,
you dressed the part, your aesthetic matched.
right? But you did not get caught listening to Motley Crue or
right.
Or any of the hair bands
Yep.
or anything like that because that was not what
that was not
group
new
you're
wave.
in.
Right.
So I would go home because I love music in any genre. As long as there's talent, which is a lack of what we have today.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would like listen to all those great bands, and then I would go home and put in like Guns N' Roses as well as. So I would be listening to, and a friend of mine actually told me once, "You're crazy," because I literally went from an Ozzy Osbourne concert to a Erasure concert to an opera concert.
All like
all
back to
within
back to
2
back.
weeks, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "It's music, and I like
Love it.
talent.
Yes.
Talent will cross all genres,
Period.
regardless of who they are.
Agreed.
If you can sing,
You're good.
you can sing country as well as you can sing rap.
Yep. Agreed.
So it doesn't matter, or I should say, perform rap, because it's more lyrical than singing.
Sure.
And so, talent is what matters to me. So when I listen to a lot of the groups today, like
mumble rap.
well, like what's his name though? And I use him as an example a lot. Old Town.
Oh, Lil Nas X.
Thank you, Lil Nas X. I use him as an example because the boy cannot sing worth anything.
It's all auto-tuned.
It's all auto-tuned. However, the music is fantastic, and the videos are entertaining.
You like Old Town Road?
It's all right. It's all right. But it's mostly the fact that, what's his name sings.
For sure. Agreed.
You know what I mean? He has no talent. Even though I can listen to the music because the music is great and maybe the reverberation is great, he can't really sing. And so I will be visibly appealing. He'll be visibly appealing to me, but he will not be audibly appealing to me. So I will not listen to him in the car. I may watch him on TV, but I won't listen to him in the car. Would I go to his concert? Probably not, unless he was with somebody else.
That you wanted to see.
There has to be talent. You have to be able to stand away from music and sing.
Sure.
And I do like people who don't do that. Madonna did not have talent. It cost her a fortune to learn how to sing. You know what I mean? So one day you'll hear me listening to country because I love them.
Bye. Thank you for joining.
Who are you saying bye to?
My grandma, she said we had a great show tonight, but she's logging off. She said bye.
Bye, you guys. So anyways, I'll tie it up because it's been an hour. Because like I said, I can go on for hours about music.
And we love to hear about it.
Yeah,
though.
I can go on hours.
We gotta extend
I can
it.
connect them. I can connect bands. Like I can connect from. There is, and then I'll let you guys go. So, who likes Depeche Mode? Right?
I love Depeche Mode.
Who likes Depeche Mode? So let's talk about the bands that came off Depeche Mode. Yes.
Oh.
Erasure. The Assembly. They're all related to Depeche Mode somehow because Vince Clarke, who is the person who puts all the music together for Erasure, Yaz, The Assembly, was the keyboardist for Depeche Mode.
That's awesome.
The Glove has Susie and the Banshees and The Cure. Robert Smith was the bassist for Susie and the Banshees. Split off, became but there's certain genres I know.
Sure.
I just love it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I hope I didn't overtalk.
No, we always love listening. I've listened to your stories for hours.
So anyways, you guys have a great night, and thank you so much for following. I enjoyed it.
And before we leave, we got to tell you the spiel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. It's free. Tell your friends. And if you always want to hear us talk about something, let us know in the comments.
Next Tuesday, we will not have her here in the store.
Following Tuesday.
No, it's next Tuesday, I think. Oh, you're right.
The first.
Following Tuesday.
Yep. So
the following Tuesday, we will not have her. She will be here next week, but not the week after. She does not know where she's going. I do not know where she's going. Her better half is taking her on a surprise Valentine's.
But if it's cool enough, I will be joining this live.
Yeah, she will tap in, and I will bring her up live, and we will see where she's at and what she's doing.
Woohoo! I can't wait to show you guys because I have no idea where we're going to be at.
So anyways, you guys have a great night, and we love you, and thank you so much for watching.
And don't forget, let us know what your favorite band is and what your favorite stream to listen to music is.
Happy Valentine's, David.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I could listen to those stories forever and ever.